and welcome to a new episode of Goosebumps and Bloopers with Krista and Christina. And today we have an amazing guest, Marisa. And please tell me your last name because I was not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's French. It's Ribordy.
Okay, and in
Ribordy.
French, how you would say it?
Ribordy.
Ribordy. Oh, that's much nicer. Marisa, well, I'm going to introduce you a little bit from what I found on the website. You are a breath facilitator and also a Reiki healer or practitioner, a yoga teacher, a mentor and coach for women, and you want to inspire people to live intentionally with the cycles. And what else is important for you?
Yeah. So all the things you said, and now I'm really focusing on those two modalities, breathwork and embodiment practices, to go deeper with my clients around first living with intention. So bringing awareness around our environment, so the seasons outside, but like our cycle, so the menstrual cycle, emotional body. And using those practices to really go deeper into connecting with our bodies, because we're often really disconnected, and giving space for this range of feelings, of waves, of like polarity that we experience as women, and allowing that and creating like a safe container for those women to come in, to feel safe first, and then to be able to come home to their bodies. And those practices are really powerful to go deeper into, like removing limiting beliefs or old stories, suppressed emotions, anything that is stagnant in the body. Yeah, all those things.
Beautiful.
All the good stuff. Yeah, I love it. So amazing.
Do you have like some kind of client that always finds you, or special, let's say special themes, or something that you feel like you attract those kind of women?
Yeah, I think I attract women who realize there's like what they've been doing, or like the disconnect from their emotions, or like being on this like cycle of go all the time, or going through times of hard, difficult challenges and not really knowing how to handle those, and just this kind of desire to, like, I think a strong desire for community, to kind of gather women together, because there's like such a powerful, I used to hold women circles back in Geneva a few years ago, and just the power that when women gather together, and then you can share like your own experience and feel safe, and then realize like, oh, me too, I feel the same way, me too, and it's just, it brings a sense of relief and comfort, knowing that you're not alone. So I think this is a big part of it. And just women who are curious, that to just, this maybe started doing yoga or something, and they want to go deeper, and yeah.
I love that. I just want to say, because I also used to work with women only, and also in group settings, and there's such a powerful thing to realize I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
Or something like, I really believe that we women hold ourselves back so often because we feel shameful or guilty around things. To see, oh, I don't have to feel ashamed, because that's just a normal thing to feel, or to have. And I love that you said that, because I really feel that that's where so much power lies, to set ourselves free, to just be human and be female and just be who we are.
Exactly. Because I think there's so much pressure in our society to show up like in a certain way, like you're like, like you're outgoing, and you have all this energy, and you're confident, and like, it's just, it can be part of it, like through every month, but we're so much more than that, and like, we're humans, and we go through different phases, and we need to adapt, and again, I think there's a lot of shame or confusion as well, and feeling a bit lost, because once you can have a lot of energy and feeling really good, and like things are going really well, and you can hold space for your family, for at work, and all of those things. And then there's times where it just feels like it's all too much. So just understanding, or just realizing that it is part of being a woman, and like finding a first awareness and acceptance around that, you know, we come in multitude of like emotions, feelings, energies, and all of it. So
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I think that's something that we just like recently in the, let's say, last 10 years has really come to the surface, really knowing about the cycle and the different phases we go through as women. I grew up thinking I have to perform all the time the same, on the same energy level, and always push. And suddenly, you know, I read that in some countries they even started to give women like 2 free days for the beginning of their period, and things like that are slowly coming. But I realized there are so many women out there who still are not aware of this knowledge. So I would like to dive into that with you today. But before that, maybe you can share your story, how you got to this path where you are now, and what all the little roads, side roads you took.
Yeah, thank you so much first for having me. I'm really happy to be here and to share more about the topics we're diving in and my story. And I found it so interesting. I think it's Steve Jobs who says this, like you can only connect the dots backwards, you know, when you look back. And I really see my life, but like everyone's life, as a treasure map in a sense. And we get to receive little hints or clues along the way, and then it's just, are you ready to receive those little curiosity nudges or things on your way? And for me, it all started, so like I studied international relations. I worked for a women's rights organization here in Geneva, and I, even though like I loved the mission of this work, I was like, I'm not made to work in an office. It's not for me. And I lacked passion, or I just like felt a bit lifeless. And then I don't know, things changed. I went on a solo trip in Bali for the first time. It was 2011. And then like I had, you know, those kind of little breakthrough opening happening when I was there, that like I wanted to fall in love with my life. I wanted to just bring romance. I wanted to feel fully alive. And also at the same time, I had this voice like, step on the yoga mats and try yoga. So I went to Ubud and did my first yoga class there. And I came back just feeling really alive, and just something lit up. And even after this 2-hour classes in the rice fields, I felt like, oh, you're gonna become a yoga teacher at some point. So since then, like it kind of like I came back, I found a yoga studio. I fell in love with yoga. I started to devour like all the wellness blog posts back then, and like it led me to, like, I started my own blog in 2012, and it led me to IIN, which is the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, to become a health coach. And I did that for a bit, and I was kind of working on the side, and then quit everything to go to Bali to do my yoga training afterwards. And yeah, like since then, like I've been having my business, doing as health coaching and yoga teaching, and starting to do more workshops around those topics, and kind of starting to mix things together. And then, you know, like just when you start to learn more about all those kind of things, or the wellness, spiritual, there's always something more to learn or to do. So like I added Reiki. I went to another trainings in India around like everything around woman self-care, which can also lit up something else in me around living more connected to the feminine energy, to be connected to our bodies, I started to host women's circles around the new moon and full moon, and just wanting to, because like, you know, what we teach often is what we need, or like we needed back then, or that we still kind of like want to uncover in ourselves. So for me, it was always a lot about um, coming back home to my body, to myself, and to kind of guide women as well to take up space, to use our voices, to feel more confident, to, and again, I think a lot of the life force energy that we hold within ourselves, and the creativity and the inspiration and the aliveness comes from knowing our bodies, knowing ourselves. And so like every time, like I would just go deeper and deeper, and realizing how beautiful, like, and how much wisdom we hold within our bodies as women. And I kept diving deeper into it until 2019, and then like I added reiki into it. And I yeah, suddenly, like again, like around my cycle, as we're gonna talk a little bit about this as well, like on day one of my cycle, for a couple of cycles in during spring 2019, like I had this nudge, like my voice was telling me like, oh, it's time to quit your job, like I want more freedom, I want to be more in nature. And this would come up, and like so I started to feel really ready for it.
What were you working back then?
I was so I was still had my business, and I
Yes.
was like doing yoga teaching and workshops and things like that. And I was also still like working part-time at a ophthalmologist, doing
Okay.
some eye tests or
Mhm.
for patients. But yeah, I felt like I was kind of in my comfort zone and just not really growing, like not my 2 feet in my business completely, even if it was just like energetically. So I went back into you know, there's a lot of things that happened, but like I invested also in hiring a mentor in Canada, and then a lot of different things happened, like a lot of synchronicities, and I dived much deeper into breath work that summer 2 years ago. And I had started it like in India, so 3 years ago, and it was just like suddenly starting to awake something in me, and I wanted to break free from the boxes that I was still in, and wanted to really dive into my self-expression, take up space, owning my skills, and really following my heart. So I ended up quitting that job and enrolling for that breathwork facilitator training in Costa Rica. And yeah, and then like I found myself at the beginning of last year doing my training, and my intention was to stay in Costa Rica to kind of build up my online business, because I wanted to shift into a more online kind of platform instead of in person, because I wanted to grow, and I wanted to do it from Costa Rica. So when the pandemic kind of started, I suddenly like found myself like, oh, what do I do? Like countries are closing, and do I stay? Do I leave? And then I was just like, oh, but of course you stay, because this is what you wanted, and you get to really dive into those intentions or goals, even though like it felt a bit scary at the time. And yeah, so I found myself in the jungle on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, surrounded by lush green green
Palm
trees
and
and wildlife and toucans and sloth. And I started, like, I just jumped directly into my online business with breathwork sessions, one-on-one, doing my woman circles online. And yeah, so this is kind of, it took different stages every time, but like this is the latest. And after that, yeah, I started to feel the desire to come back to Europe for the summer. It was like the rainy season over there, and I had like spent 4 months pretty much on my own over there. And I was like, I can't go back to the city, to Geneva, during the pandemic. Like I just, you know, after it's funny because like after 6 months of jungle and being completely in sync with nature and the moon and yourself, I could not imagine myself going back to the city. And I booked, or I found, like also very with a lot of synchronicities, a place in the mountains, and it was my ideal place. And I thought I was just gonna be there for a month or two, just as a transition from the jungle, and I ended up staying here. So
It's amazing.
So yeah.
Where are you actually in the mountains, when I may ask?
In Montana.
In Montana, wow.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah. So it's also like I'm surrounded by nature, and now like I'm able to work online with my clients around either Reiki, distant Reiki, breathwork sessions. I hold online programs. I just finished Embodied, which is like a online program with live sessions, and I do also some mountain day retreats with clients who come just for the day, and we just focus on a lot of their needs and what they need through different practices. So yeah,
Beautiful.
that's the story.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
So you always came back to yourself, whether it was in Bali or in Costa Rica, and now back to the Swiss mountains.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
something, I think that's something that a lot of people are afraid of, to just be completely by yourself. And there is this need to always be together with other people. And I also think that there is such a treasure in being for a long time just by yourself.
Yes.
Something that comes natural for you, or did you have to learn to be by yourself?
I think it's something that developed over the years. So like my 20s were really much outgoing. I was around friends, traveling a lot, and very, very social. And then I started to discover yoga, and kind of, like just, I don't know, 30s and yoga together kind of brought a bit more kind of grounding and tuning more inwards. And I would kind of consider myself as an intimate extrovert. I don't really like labels, but this is how I would just kind of label myself. I love like small groups and just being with people, but in small groups. But that said, I think I've always been good on my own. And feeling good, but I think last year in Costa Rica and spending because the first part of it was I was around a big group of people for the breathwork training, and which was amazing, because then we got a lot of hugs and dancing and super powerful moments together just right before everything shifted. And then the like when I found myself like for 4 months pretty much on my own, it was quite I wouldn't say awakening, but like it just kind of strengthened like I really felt a shift in my wholeness. Like I suddenly felt whole, and I felt high on life because I was living my dream life. And I really had a moment when I was kind of dancing in my jungle kitchen. Then I was like, wow, I get to there's nothing else that I need in this moment than just what I'm living right now. I don't need a partner or friends or anything. Like I'm really happy and content. So that really was powerful. And then I kept deepening my relationship with myself, because I think this is really important. And I'm really and I know like a lot of people always like, wow, I could never do this, or like this, like it's a bit hard for them to picture or struggle to just be on their own. But I think it's a beautiful journey to come back home to yourself. And this is really what I teach or guide women through my different practices and work, is just to feel safe, to trust yourself, to trust your intuition, to trust your heart when it's speaking, and to become your own best friend in a sense. So, and of course, like I'm not saying like it's obviously nice to and good to have meaningful and soulful connections with others as well. Like it's a balance.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
absolutely. And I also think for everybody is different. you know, you probably don't know that about me. I dove very deeply into human design and gene keys last year, and it taught me so much about how different we all are and what kind of different needs we also have. So I think for some people it's really much more challenging to kind of being on their own than for others, where it's just like, I think all three of us, it just comes quite naturally to us because we are okay with who we are. And
well, I really had to learn it.
Okay.
Because I remember when I was living in London, I was always kind of living with other people. And then in 1 year of my dance studies, I wanted to be on my own, to have my small little apartment. And I really, it was, you know, there was always this tension or this longing to, oh, maybe tonight I'm gonna visit a friend so I don't have to be by myself. And then I really wanted to be comfortable with just being by myself. And I'm a Libra, so the Libra is always looking for the counterpart wherever she is. And there was some moments where I felt just so lonely and alone, but I wanted to feel it, to really come to the other side, to be really happy, as you said. And I also had these moments in my apartment. I mean, I was still in a city, so it's maybe not comparable, but where I felt so happy with being myself or being by myself. I really I think I had to learn it. Because I was always looking for some other person to maybe distraction and maybe to give that something that was a void inside of me. I don't know. And now it's kind of the opposite, because you know, I have family and kids, and there's always something happening. And when I have those moments when I'm by myself, I'm like, oh, finally.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I often, like, I don't like labels, or I don't like having a specific framework, because everyone, again, like you were mentioning, Priska, everyone is different. And if you take astrology, human design, Ayurveda, like the doshas, like we're all like, there's like so many ways to kind of you know, come to yourself. And I think the awareness comes in, okay, like, am I someone who's like loves being social and gets energized by being around people, and or is it something that I'm escaping by, you know, by being around, like you were mentioning, Christina. So I think it's just the awareness of, like, why do we do the things, and is it to come whole and to like uplift ourselves and feel really good, or is it just we're trying to numb, avoid, or distract ourselves? So
that's so true. Yeah, and I really also believe, you know, especially when I do human design readings, so many times people say, oh, now I understand, you know, because if we would just listen to ourselves and give ourselves permission to be who we are and to follow the things that feel good to us, we would actually just naturally live our design or live who we are, you know. But sometimes we think we have to fit into a certain picture, or we think we have to fit into a frame. So I love that you're saying this, you know, to really, like, every woman has to find out on her own, like, what makes her happy and how to connect with herself.
Yeah, and I think you're really hitting like the points, because and I keep hearing this with human design. I'm not really so familiar. I know a little bit about it, but like it's a comment that I hear all the time when people mention this, like, oh, like, it just gives me permission to be who I am, or just to understand, like, I was functioning this way, and it's beautiful and sad at the same time, because I you know, like, and it's human design is just one way, but like, it goes with the menstrual cycle, with any of it, you know, and how we just don't trust our bodies. And again, like, it's the society, the patriarchal system of very linear, and everyone should be like the same way, and then, like, it just doesn't give a lot of room and space for people to actually be who they are, you know? Like, someone who needs to nap during the day or work 3 hours, you know, I think, like, in human design, like, there's so many different ways to be more efficient, or to just that works better for you as well. So
yeah, because that's so true, because in the end we don't need all these systems. I mean, like, who needs human design, who needs any kind of system when we could just live in tune? But that's exactly how you said it, because of all these ideas and these rules that we've had, and also these traumas that we all carry. women and men, of course, too. But just by having to be a certain way, that's why we kind of cut ourselves off and diminish our lights and become some kind of a, I don't know, we have to unlearn all these things. That's, I think, what we have to do.
Yeah, and maybe it's also because, you know, we can easily see what's on the outside of us. You know, we see other people. I mean, if I would see myself in front of me all the time, I would maybe also understand it easier. It's maybe also the perception that and then the other thing is also that we often only, or maybe that's just part of life, to go through all those hardships and layer by layer understanding who we are. I mean, I often think, what if we are born with all those analysis, like a thick book of all the things, and you would still have to go through it to really experience it, you know. Just knowing it would probably not even make that much of a difference. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's really like a journey, like you were both saying, like this journey of discovering who we are and unfolding all those like extra layers of like our past, our history, our family background, the beliefs, the stories, the conditioning from society and everything. So
I would love to talk with you a bit about also that you mentioned that you also work with the cycles, right, of nature, but also of the female cycle. And because it's a topic, like Christine and I already wanted to talk about it once before, but we were like, you know, we actually don't know so much about it. Maybe it's good to have somebody who actually knows a bit more than we do, because I just see it's a topic that comes more and more into my space. Because earlier when I was younger, you know, like first my period was super irregular. I had to take what they called the mini pill in the beginning because it constantly was like just not coming. Then I had an eating disorder. Then I was super skinny, therefore I also didn't have it for several years. And then it was kind of normal-ish. And only since let's call it 5 years, I have it really regular, but also very painful. Like every month is just such a struggle. And I also am trying to find ways, you know, to not only just throw in a pill, but also to, you know, find more natural ways to deal with that pain, because I also think it's not natural to have this kind of pain that I have. Well, not natural. I just think there's something more also physically, but maybe also mentally, I don't know. And I would love to just hear a bit about how you are working with women and their cycles, and if you can just share a bit about your wisdom there.
Yeah. And I love this topic because, again, I feel like society, or just the way we grew up, like it was taboo for many years. And I think it's just, the recent like 5-8 years that we're talking more about the menstrual cycle and understanding it. But we never, either from school or our parents, like we never really learned how a woman's cycle function or is, you know. And we often think like it's just the period and then that's my cycle. But like, you know, like there's the rest of the month, something happens as well. So it's just for me, like that whole curiosity started when I stopped the pill almost 10 years ago because I didn't want to take it anymore. I was diving into yoga and learning what I was eating and all of those things. It didn't make sense. And I got my period back and like just kind of wanting to understand more like the different phases of ovulation time, what like all the things that was happening in the body. And then I just got really curious and using this also with clients to understand ourselves more, because often, like we were mentioning before, we don't really understand why we feel like we have a lot of energy one day, we can just do all the workouts and be out in the world feeling really great, and the next day we have no energy, we need to nap, we just have like a really strong inner critic, and we think we're just something's wrong with us. But like, and so like I just started to dive into this and to just make sense of things and to be able to like slowly tap into the wisdom and the power that we hold as women, And yeah, so like basically we have four, they often talk about in books on the topic, the inner seasons. So like 4 inner seasons, you know, the inner winter phase is when you start to bleed. It's like the menstruation phase, followed by spring, which is pre-ovulation. Then the inner summer is ovulation time, and then you go into autumn, which is the premenstrual phase. So every phase is around, like, I mean, if you take like a cycle of 28 days, which is like the standard, it can go a bit longer or shorter. And so like there's like, you know, those seasons are around like 7 days each. And when we can learn and understand where, like, track our cycles to see where we kind of find ourselves in seasons, and then like it really mimics the seasons of outside,
Yeah.
you know. So like, you know, you just take your period week, or like the days you bleed, it's connected to winter, where you just want to nap, you need to rest, to tune more inwards. Yes, exactly. You don't want to be around a lot of people, and it's just like eating nourishing food and just being slow. And then you move to the phase of spring, where you start to have like more energy again, like just like spring energy of like coming back to life. And you can have a lot of energy at this time, and be very kind of out in the world, wanting to do all the things, like, again, like stronger workouts, around your business, doing all the tasks, and being very active. Summer is the same, like even more, like just like, and you know, like it kind of follows also the hormones levels, you know, and so like everything kind of makes sense. And so during summertime, like it's a great, so like when you can tap into the power of each phase, you know, like summertime ovulation is great to do podcasts, to do interviews, to negotiate your salary, or at work, to go out, to be there for other people, for your family, to be very active into the world, to just to do like very like big things at work, to be outgoing, to do public speaking, workshops, and all those things. And then like when you arrive to autumn, which is like starting to just like the hormones decrease, your energy and you're starting to need more space, to want to slow down a little bit, to be more creative. This is a really good time to be creative, and being more in tune to your emotions as well. So, and again, like you were mentioning, Christina, at the beginning, like just when you go really hard during your period, sometimes then like it can shows up like a few days afterwards, but often it shows up in spring or summer, so around ovulation time, where you've used a lot of energy at the beginning, and then like you kind of crash when you're kind of supposed to have more energy. And
this makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, for example, when you don't live by your seasons and you push through the winter, then it can be that you don't have the amount of energy that you should have in the spring or in summer.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And you know, like seeing like winter as this phase, and again, like it depends, because if you're someone who has a lot of energy during your periods and you're not so affected by it, then you can still do stuff, you know, like it's not about like, oh, I have my period, I need to lay down the whole day. But it's just like, so following your energy as well. But it is it's
but
like,
maybe it shows up on a different level, you know, because that's what happens with me. I often have so much energy even at the start of my period, but then suddenly I can get so emotional maybe on day 3, and then I just, you know, just accept, no, okay, I'm in my winter, and it just, the dropping just shows on a different level.
Yes, exactly.
And then that again maybe pushes me to be physically more restful, because the emotional maybe the emotional breakdown forced me to, you know, to also drop my physical energy.
Yes, so it's really about listening to our bodies, understanding where we are in our cycle, and also you know, like just the system is very linear, you know, like, so like it, and it's based on a circadian rhythm, like the 24-hour cycle, which is actually based also on the men physiology. They have like a circadian rhythm, so like they have a lot of energy in the morning, like the hormones are like cortisol and testosterone is really high, and then like it just like slows down during the day. So like the 9 to 5 9 to 6 work hours, so like the whole society is based on this rhythm.
Yeah,
it doesn't take in consideration like a woman's cycle. We work as a, it's called infradian rhythm, and which is like the a month-long cycle. And you know, like just what men go through in a day, like just this kind of wave, we go through this on a month long basis, in a sense. So yeah, like the whole society is not ready, or hasn't been taking this into account, you know. And this is why like sometimes we have like this crash between, I need to show up to my work every day the same, or I need for my family, for, you know, anything, and having the same energy, but this is not how women function.
yeah.
And slowly I think things are changing, but it starts with like, yeah, having more awareness of our own cycles and how we can adapt, you know, like in small ways. I understand like sometimes when you have families, when you have a job where you have a boss or things like that, like it's harder to, like, you need to navigate and find little ways where you can tweak and adjust.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think it's about like reclaiming our power as well, you know, like and just listening to the body and trusting our bodies as we go through life in different phases.
And so do you already plan your month business wise based on your cycle?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm quite loose. I'm not super strict with that, but like I do always track my cycle, and I know I try to avoid booking clients or workshops or podcasts or things like that during that like week where I know I'm about to bleed or you're bleeding, because I know I won't have as much energy. And I do, you know, like sometimes like you can't, like I do host workshops sometimes when just like it's day one of my cycle and it's not ideal. But I usually often tell the woman I work with, like, oh, I'm on day one, so I don't have the same energy that I usually have. I'm more intuitive, and I like, it's more nurturing kind of energy. Like, so, you know, like there's beautiful things that happen in each phase of the cycle as well. But like, you just, when you know, you can just tap into it as well differently, or prepare as well. So like, if I know like I have somehow like a busy day of work when I'm bleeding, or the days around that, trying to adjust, or like prevention. Okay, like, can I prepare food or have like my fridge stocked up before? Can I rest maybe before those big days, and just kind of plan in advance to make time, or just to lighten the load as much as I can.
I love that. I also like, because I run my business together with my husband, and I started putting my period in our calendar, you know, that he knows these are the days. And also because some, you know, because I also got this PMS, especially the emotional PMS, where I just feel like my boobs hurt, but also like I just am so emotional and I just explode about everything.
Or like the world is falling apart.
Yeah, like, like
for
it's
me,
so
often.
bad.
Yeah.
And then you just know, oh, you know, like
that's why.
It's, you know, just to say, oh, I'm not going crazy, you know. It's it's just that. Yeah.
And it's
really
so important to know that, you know, because again, like we can think like, oh, why am I just so dark or so sad today, or why am I questioning everything about life today? And usually like they call it the void, like the day before you're bleeding, like where you're just in that space where like you're just questioning your work, your partnership, your life, and or you just feel really sad or a lot of emotions. And another thing that's interesting, again, like it's just, you know, like when you're in ovulation phase, so during that summer, you have so much energy and you can hold space for a lot of people and you have much more patience. So your container is bigger. and often you can let some things like slip, like just because you're feeling good.
Yeah.
And often it comes, like if we're not using our voice enough, or we're not speaking our truth enough, or there's like something that, our boundaries have been crossed, but we were quite okay during that time, it will show up in the autumn phase. And that's why, like, it's the archetype of the wild woman, and it's needed as well, like it's just that woman that's not afraid to speak up, to use her voice, to express herself, and to kind of take back, reclaim her body,
her
but
power.
her power and her personal space. So that's why, like, sometimes, like it's known like the PMS, and but again, like, it's just the society, like, just kind of making it sound,
it's just
like
this annoying thing.
It's true. It has this connotation of, oh, she's on her, like, or she's about to, getting her period, or like, that's true, you don't get taken very seriously. It's just, for myself, it's really helpful to understand that I'm in this phase, because sometimes I really break off, like, fights also with my husband, or I get so, like, emotionally in a deep hole when I just think, like, I don't even understand why I'm so upset about this right now.
Absolutely. And also I always try to imagine it's really that cleaning process during the winter, and everything needs to come to the surface that hasn't been looked at, and has to get rid of my system. That's why I see it, and it hurts so much.
And that's a powerful thing, and I think this is one of the amazing things of the menstrual cycle. We get to shed every month anything that's no longer serving us, any, from energies, from emotions, to situations, to anything that doesn't feel aligned anymore. We get to kind of, and it's such a cleansing thing that the body does, so it's removing toxins and all of that. And I think, again, like, the more you're aware of each phase, where you are, like, and you can just start to track your emotional and physical and spiritual, mental, bodies, to understand that, like, the clearer it is for you to communicate with others and say, like, okay, well, I realize that every month around that part of my cycle, I feel more sensitive, I feel like more exhausted. What do I need? And just looking for what it is that you need. Okay, can I have a bit more rest, or can I move things slower? And just asking your partner, your kids, your friends, the people around you, okay, well, just this is where I am, and like, I need to move slower, or I need to just be gentle to myself, and just kind of take this into consideration as well.
And I'm using an app. Do you have some recommendations for people to track?
Yes. So, like, it's a great way, because now there's so many apps you can use for that. I use Clue, which is a great one as well. You can track your cycle, and you can add a lot of, like, the symptoms you have, like your sleep patterns, your digestion, your energy levels, and all of those things. So you can track with, like, a really simple app.
Okay, Clue. It's called Clue.
Clue. CLUE. Yeah.
Okay. And the one that I use, it's My Moon Time, and it also shows you, the archetypes of the phase you are in, and it's also pretty.
I don't know this one. So I think there's a lot, and it's really interesting, because and again, like, if you take archetypes for each phase, the winter phase, so when you bleed, is the crone, so like, it's the old wise woman. Spring is the maiden, so the like, it's a young woman. Energy. The mother comes up for ovulation time, when you can hold a lot of space and nurturing. And then wild woman for the autumn phase. So, like, you can start to kind of do more research, or see if you can embody those kind of energies throughout your cycle as well. And how beautiful it is that we just go through a month cycle with all those kind of tapping into all those kind of different energies, instead of just being very, like, the same linear the whole time. So like, when you can understand this and see the tapping into the power of the body, it's just it becomes so much more enjoyable as well.
I love that you connected with the archetypes, because I love anyhow's archetype work, and to really embody that more in this way. I never thought about that. That's so beautiful.
It's so helpful because you really have the visual of the energy in front of you. And so are there any books that you can recommend to our listeners?
I do. I actually have one here. It's someone I know, Claire Baker. She became this period coach. So it's 50 things you need to know about periods. It's really easy book to kind of start to dive in if you're not used to this. But there's a lot of other books, Wild Power or Code Red. Or Woman Code from Alisa Vitti. Also, like, she's talking about like how diet, food, so like really kind of understanding how you can actually improve or like, you know, feel more nourished through each phases of your cycle, or work with the cycles or each phases of your cycle as well, so you can be like more in an optimal
zone and
yes, exactly.
And so did you have any experience with that pain, that physical pain that Priska mentioned?
Yeah, you know, like our bodies always speak, you know, and that's the interesting part. Like they always try to communicate. So the symptoms we feel often are, there's like an emotional components to it, or and often also like just this idea that you know, society tells you like PMS is normal, like you know, like suffering or having really bad cramps is normal, but it's actually not so much. You know, having a little bit of discomfort when you bleed, it is, you know, and I do experience as well a little bit of like you know, depending the months, like you know, like breast tenderness, or a bit of cramping, lower back, but it's really light usually. I did have like a couple of stronger episodes, and then I do use a lot of acupuncture. I go to acupuncture a lot, and this helps. But also understanding how you can tweak, you know, like by improving your diet, or changing something in the food you eat, or your exercise routine, and see what works best for you. But also really strongly believe that our womb space, you know, the uterus like speaks, and just understanding if is not really aligned, maybe, or what she needs.
No, also, you know, I went back then through a lot of stress when we met. We have a very crazy love story, so this triggered a lot of stuff. So I'm quite sure it also has to do with that. And I'm also working a lot with healing foods and what I'm eating, and I'm like just only recently found out about raspberry leaf tea. I don't know why it took me so long. So now I'm trying to do that, because I'm now in my wild woman phase. So I'm drinking a lot of raspberry tea to prepare myself. And I'm just trying. I think it's just about trying new things.
Exactly. And I would recommend this book, or like any resources from Alisa Vitti, The Woman Code. And I just ordered the last book, which I forgot the name, In the Flow, I think, or something like that. And she really kind of goes deeper into what kind of food, and depending the symptoms you have, or how to optimize your menstrual cycle as well, and to decrease symptoms, or any kind of inflammations you have around, like, you know, PCOS or endometriosis, or super strong pain. So I think we can there's so much we can explore and dive deeper and learn, and just coming from a place. I always tell my clients to come from a place of curiosity and experiment, you know, like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to do something different this week or this month, and see if it works, you know, and just gonna be more of a detective to see how does it make me feel if I rest one day when I bleed on my first day, or when I do yoga instead of strong workouts, or runs during my bleed, or just gonna be more in tune, and just being more curious.
I love that.
And you know, really celebrate that time, because you know, you have now so many months ahead where you can experiment, and it's, we really have to get away from that. I'm on my period.
No, that's true. That's true.
you know, I really treasure that we are women and have this power to so much. Yeah,
well, that's true. I think this helped me very much to not have it for a very long time. So really, I remember the day when I got it back. I made acupuncture as well, and Chinese herbs. And I remember I was living with my with a friend of mine together, and I was just jumping on our bed in the morning, like, "You got my period!" Like, we had this period dance, you know, going on. It was like one big party because I really felt like something was missing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
And since then, and that's a long time ago, but ever since, even though I really have bad pains, I'm still celebrating it each and every time I'm having it, because it also makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel healthy and cleaning. And I don't know, there's something about that. I'm very, very grateful to, I think it's a beautiful part of being a woman, even though it can be annoying sometimes, but it's really still, when we can connect to the power of it, there's just this being the cyclic being.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and you know, we're so like connected to the moon at the same time, because the moon has like a 29 day cycle, and even like menstruation actually comes from the word in Latin menses, which was also connected to the Greek word mene, I think, which means moon. So like you know, like it's connected to the moon, you know, like the moon is feminine and kind of goes through all those different phases throughout the cycle. And often women can connect it to your menstrual cycle, to the moon as well, because the new moon, for example, when it's the dark moon, is the winter phase. A lot of women bleed around that time, and then as its waxing phase, you know, when it grows to the full moon, it's spring. And then the full moon is the summer, when you just bright and bare and shining, and then like you just go again to autumn phase as it wanes to the dark moon. So for the women, for example, who are not bleeding, and kind of miss, or like either after like menopause, or we just not having your period, like it's kind of, and want to feel a bit more connected to all those phases, you can use the moon, the lunar cycles, to kind of adapt yourself to this, like as the, you know, like I just mentioned, the dark moon and all the different cycle, to just feel more connected and match your energy to it.
Yeah, and I also read that you can even match your cycle with the moon cycle. If you, for instance, if you sleep outdoors a lot, and you know, a moon bath, and really connect to the moon's energy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's quite powerful, you know, like, and if you look at the moon, like it has an impact on the water, you know, like the tides, animals, like we all feel affected, you know, like not affected, but like just like there's a we're impacted by the moon's energy. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all this.
Oh, my pleasure. I love talking about this.
So is there any more wisdom or truth bombs that you would like to share with our listeners, or something that's in your field right now that is important to say?
So I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot, but like I would just re-emphasize again, like just coming from like this desire to come back home to yourself or to your body, just to do it like in a gentle and compassionate way, understanding that like we didn't grow up with all this knowledge because of society, and just it's about reclaiming our bodies, but like the messages, the intuition, and the trust. I see often with my clients, like there's a lack of trust in the messages from the body, or they just don't know what to do with it. So you know, bringing a sense of curiosity and compassion as you just start to learn to trust your intuition, or to trust the whispers in your heart, or like just to try to lower down the inner critic, and really kind of bringing your body with you on your journey, and whatever that journey is, because we know like and this is something like I really dive deeper since last year, like we're just like so stuck in the mind, you know, like we put so much focus and value in our intellect, our thoughts, but there's so much wisdom that's happening in the rest of the body that we often dismiss. Yeah, like if you want to embody, or like I use embodiment, so like this movement therapy, to release a lot of emotions, to move things that has been stagnant, to remove limiting beliefs or old stories, and to just like really step into your power, into your gifts, your skills, the vision you have about yourself in the future by the posture, your body language, the movements, and so just learning how to trust your body. I think it's a beautiful.
And I believe that we often don't see our body as that we are a team. I always remind my students, hey, you two are a team. And I often use the beginning of my yoga classes to just listen all the messages, and it's so normal to judge all that in the body, and look at the body almost like a foreign or an alien or something that
just like a machine
doing something. But to really remind us all the time that we are a team, and we can communicate with each other.
It's like everything is one, like what you feel on an emotional level is felt, is coming through physically in the body as well, or anything that is physical will have an impact on your emotions as well. So it is really just how you can just work with your body and become more intimate in learning how you function, and it is from the menstrual cycle to the seasons outside to the elements. So how do you feel about wind or the sun or snow or all of those things, and how it impacts you, and trusting what you need, like again going back to human design or like astrology, like just it's nice to have the confirmation, but like also being able to, and I know like it's for me, like it's also still a process because it's so ingrained of like how you should be doing in the world or living, but like just slowly kind of trusting. And I think it's Brené Brown who says this, in terms of like trust, every time you do you take a decision or you use like your trust, and like you can see you can trust yourself, like it's like you put a penny in your bank account. And then every time you do this, and it could be the same with intuition, with your like learning how your body function, you just every time like you just mentally just take stock of it, and like you see, because like the mind loves to have evidence,
proof.
So just like if you can see, oh, actually I can trust myself because look, when I took this decision, it was intuitively based or body based, and it turned out well, instead of just kind of going to the more negative scenarios.
That's some serious wisdom here.
Yes
really
it is really powerful. And I think, and it's so amazing to see, because women around the world are just so much more like tapping into all this wisdom, reclaiming their power, their feminine energies, their cycles, their bodies, and for me, like it feels like a revolution. Like I always say, like just your revolution lives in your body, and
and also men to have that knowledge and then support the woman with that knowledge, or sometimes even remind her, because maybe we forget, but then as you said, when you put your period in your calendar, maybe boss can you remind you, hey, don't take it so quickly.
That's true.
And like it is hard, like if you're in a relationship or family, friends, like it's when you don't have this knowledge, it's really hard for other people to understand, like if you don't really fully know yourself in terms of like how does my emotions or mental or physical world works for myself, like if I don't fully know myself, how can someone else of course I will be angry or pissed off when something happens if I can't really trust myself, or I don't know what's happening, and by being able to say like, honey, I'm about to have my period, so like I'm just gonna take it slow the next few days, and I'm also more sensitive, so or can you take the kids and take care of the kids for this thing?
And can you just bring me some chocolate to the sofa?
Yes,
just
please.
gonna put up my feet.
yeah. You know, finding ways to make it work. It's but it starts with you, and it starts with you know like becoming more intimate with your own body, life, and everything. So
Thank you so much, and I think this is a
pleasure.
beautiful place to say let's get inspired by your wisdom and start to implement all that and put it into practice. And yeah, you can send me all those book recommendations, and I will link them. And I will also link the app and all how we can find you and work with you. For everyone who is interested, we will connect that.
Wonderful.
Thank you
so much
very
for having me. It was a pleasure to talk to you both and dive deeper into this.
So lovely meeting you. Thank you so much for your time, Marisa.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, dit is gewoon met Marisa.
Ja, dat is goed.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
I mean,
like I'm surrounded by forests, so it's very. It looks like I feel like I'm alone actually, because I don't really have anyone around, and it's just forest and birds and squirrels. So yeah.
You're living my dream life right now. You really are. You really are.
And where was it that we met? I was wondering what this course was called.
Is it blogging? The blog-hearted course with Rachel McDonald, the Australian, right?
Yes,
I was trying to remember because I took so many courses over the years, and I was like, where? But yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. I mean, I did every course I could find in the galaxy.
Everything online, Christina has done.
Yeah, because with Priska I also met through online courses, and somehow she popped up everywhere I was. And let's just say bye to the listeners.
Yeah, bye. We always forget that part.